Reverse colorism happens as well.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I remember Tisha, she would cry sometimes. It would be so bad because we had a lot.
Colorism that was existing in the film. Did you guys talk about it? No, did you guys talk about it off film, like when you guys weren't shooting?
Stop.
Yes.
So Spike put all the light-skinned girls in one hotel.
What?
A nicer hotel. He put the dark-skinned girls in a motel. Then he put all the boys.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I saw this clip going around maybe a few weeks ago and I wanted to give my opinion on it. I also saw that Chrissy made a video about this. I have not watched it yet. I want to give my opinion first and then react to that one and see how things line up. And my first thought about this, like we're just going to jump right into it. My first thought about this is that, now I don't remember the interview, who it was exactly, but I did put it in a video where there's a, I see her as light skinned, but there are people saying she's not that light and she's brown skinned. You already know the whole spiel. But yeah, there was some interview she was doing and she was basically saying reverse colorism is a thing. And she was trying to explain herself. If I can find it, I swear I'll put a clip for you guys. But yeah, she was trying to explain her experience and people were saying, well, that's just pretty privilege and dark-skinned girls go through this too. So we're going to unpack all of that. But I want you guys to watch this clip of Tisha Arnold. By the way, she is one of my favorite actresses of all time. I've been watching her for years since she was on that, I think the movie was called School Days, which is so ironic because that film is not just about that, but there's a big segment where they talk about colorism and how dark-skinned girls and light-skinned girls, how, different people feel different ways. I'll put a clip in there if you guys ever seen that one. It's like old though. That's like a throwback for people that don't know about it. But yeah, I just found it so ironic. And another thing, I really like Tisha Arnold because she was on the show Everyone Hates Chris, and I really loved that show. I was a big fan of it growing up, but I saw that the woman, the light-skinned woman, she played Gina, I believe, in the Martin show. I forget her real life name. I think both of their names starts with a T. I think it's Tisha and Tisha. That's very confusing. But yeah, I'm just gonna call her Gina. But yeah, Gina, she was in this old movie School Days too. And the clip that I'm showing you guys in the intro of her talking about how Spike Lee separated these women to do some intense method acting and, a lot of the stuff that came out in that scene was real for them. I believe that, this woman can bring something important to this conversation. And I brought up the last time I remember someone using the term reverse colorism because she was kind of shut down completely. I guess people feel like she didn't know what she was talking about. And if you're light skinned, it's not colorism, even though that's not rooted in the original definition of the person who coined the term colorism. And shout out to Exoticals United, because I would have never known that. I would have never known that it's about discrimination towards skin tone, not just specifically dark skin tone, the original connotation of the word. So shout out to her for that. Oh, and I saw she shouted me out in one of her videos recently. Thank you so much, girl. Yeah. So I just want to say that I believe that Gina can bring something very valuable to this conversation, just the same way the other girl who brought up reverse colorism could have if she wasn't shut down. Now, because they are light-skinned women, people are just going to assume they don't know what they're talking about and they're too privileged to understand. But I find it so funny that when a dark-skinned woman speaks up and says, hey, I don't identify with that. I would never work on a show where the jokes are colorist and this and that. I wouldn't let someone do that to me. That's not my experience. That's not what happened. In fact, most of those jokes were written, and she goes on to say, I'm going to show you guys the clip. She goes on to say that most of those jokes were written for, an overweight woman. And half of that stuff wasn't really being said towards, and I don't know if you guys know this. Let me go ahead and inform you. If you've never seen the show Martin, he's with a girl named Gina. She has a female best friend named Pam, and Martin is always saying mean stuff to Pam, but Pam is always saying mean stuff to Martin. And the whole point is for them to, you're dating a guy and your female best friend is like always teasing him and stuff. So that's basically what it was. And pretty much any colorism channel for the last, decade, maybe even more, has been using either Light Skin and Viv, them switching out the daughter from My Wife and Kids, and Pam and Gina as, proof that colorism in the 90s and stuff like that. But when these people are coming out and telling you what it was, it's an issue, right? So I just want you guys to listen to what Tisha Arnold has to say, and so you guys can see the full scope for yourself. And I don't want to see another colorism channel use this woman's likeness as a way to say, oh, look, colorism was real. Because here she is telling you that that's not her experience. And not only is she doing that, she's going out of her way to tell you what really happened and who was actually, being treated differently simply because of the way that they look. So that was Gina. I'm going to go ahead and play all those clips for you guys so you can see for yourself.
Reverse colorism happens as well.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I remember Tisha, she would cry sometimes. It would be so bad because we had a live studio audience. And the girls, the black girls would come in and they were there for Martin. And that was Martin, like this Def Comedy Jam and stuff. So it was that kind of crowd that would come to our shows. And they would laugh so hard, they would bang on the floor like you could hear. It was just crazy from the laughter of the audience.
Right.
And every time, the whole first season, every time Tisha would walk out, all you hear was, they would not laugh at her jokes.
Wow.
They treated her horribly.
That's crazy.
And I was treated fine because, you would think there would be me because I'm going back and forth with him. But no, they did not want Martin having a girlfriend.
Wow.
She just so happened to be light skinned.
Yeah.
The way we used to crap on Tisha about being light skinned, oh my God. It was bad. So we have jokes, but my relationship with that show was never ever, those jokes were never written from malice. It was written from who's got the best joke.
Who's got the best shit.
Colorism that was existing in the film. Did you guys talk about it?
it.
No, did you guys talk about it off film, like when you guys weren't shooting?
Stop.
Yes.
So Spike put all the light-skinned girls in one hotel.
What?
A nicer hotel. He put the dark-skinned girls in a motel. Then he put all the boys, not just, both factions. He put all the boys in a light-skinned hotel in a light-skinned girls hotel. I was always at the motel with everybody else.
Yeah.
I wanted to go there. I hung out with them. But it was to create real method chaos.
Believe in colorism, and do you feel like it's easier as a female rapper to make it big when you're of a lighter complexion?
Believe in colorism. Colorism is very real. It's a very real thing, for sure. And it definitely is easier for, not to take away from anybody who is a light-skinned rapper, but it's definitely easier for a woman with a lighter complexion to blow up quicker than a dark-skinned woman, for sure.
But why do you feel like that? Because I be getting into it with people, right? I used to get made fun of at school because I wasn't black enough to try to cut my hair. People be thinking that light-skinned girls don't go through colorism. We go through colorism I don't know if it's as bad as
it's not
girls.
It's not colorism. It's not colorism. It's not colorism. It's not colorism. If you're light skinned, it's not colorism.
So what
skin
is
complected, darker complected
So
people.
you're basically talking about reverse.
Well, reverse colorism then. Because they used to be you ain't even black for real. You're white.
So did you notice how Gina talks about her experience and how they separated light-skinned girls and dark-skinned girls, and she chose to go with the dark-skinned girls or whatever? I find that even if you are being a light-skinned apologist or just, overdoing wearing the cape for other people who would not wear it for you, it's never going to be good enough. It's never going to be enough for them. And it's funny because Gina, she never really came out and, said anything about her experience until now. But with Tisha Arnold, for the last decade, everyone has been speaking for her. And the moment she speaks up for herself and says, actually, I wasn't the one getting bullied. That was actually, oh girl, nobody, it's like crickets. Nobody even, that whole clip, all people took from it is reverse colorism is real. So let's go ahead and bash Tisha Arnold because she's not going along with our perfectly, little narrative that all of us, go with. Because a lot of them have this groupthink mentality. And if it's not, it's almost like they're auditioning. Sometimes when they be talking, they say things where it's you just repeating what the last person said. There's no real, experience. And when the light-skinned girl asked her to name an example, she couldn't. It's like she was reading from a script. Oh, it's harder for me because I'm dark-skinned. You know what I mean? So when Tisha Arnold breaks that script and she tells you guys what really happened and who was actually getting bullied behind the scenes, no one even plays that part of the interview because they don't want to hear it. because they've already victimized themselves. So as a light-skinned woman, a brown-skinned woman, there's really no point in, trying to reason with these people because they're not going to cape for you. I like at all. So I'm going to go ahead and react to Chrissy's video on this, and we're going to see, what she thinks of it.
On Dion Cole's. So I want to talk about Tichina Arnold recently going on Dion Cole's podcast and denying Martin Lawrence's colorism against her character Pam on the show Martin. And I also want to discuss what she said about her experience dating a non-black man. And before we get into it, just an FYI, I make exclusive content for Neptunian members and patrons. So if you're interested in my opinions and strategies on other topics, the links to join are in the description box. Also, if you enjoy my content, be sure to like this video, share, and subscribe. So let's get into the first clip.
Ari Lennox, where the colorism thing, where she felt like Martin was bagging on me because I was brown skinned and because she was a brown skinned girl. And I have heard this story. I guess it was.
So it was more than Ari. It wasn't just Ari. Yeah,
I think it was only Ari. Don't laugh, because now she gonna be mad at me.
I'm not being mad. Shout out to Ari. I love Ari. Shout out to Ari.
I like her. I don't know her personally, but I like her music, and I met her one time when I was hosting Soul Train. I understand completely what she said, and I get it. So this is a little backstory. Pam was originally for a heavyset girl, so all the jokes on my audition were fat jokes. So never, ever, ever came from a brown skin thing. Yeah. It started when I really had BDBs in the back of my head. I never knew I had pepper ball. We call them pepper ball. So we would go back and forth. So it was out of love. It was out of that's what we did. It had nothing to do with color. My relationship with that show was never ever, those jokes were never written from malice. It was written from who's got the best joke.
Who got the best shit, right?
Never about colorism.
Never. That's good. That's never. Good to know. Yeah, like I said, shout out to Ari, man.
We understand how you.
And another thing, I just want to say that, Tisha Arnold and the guy Martin Lawrence, they're damn near the same color. And in the show, I actually watched the show, y'all. And they both would say terrible jokes about each other and some referencing skin tone. And they both had the same skin tone. So I just wanted to point that out too.
Yeah, we just wanted to be sure.
It wasn't meant that. And so maybe, Ari, you need to talk to your friends and the people that you were around during that time. Who made you feel that way?
Yeah.
Somebody, maybe in your family or friends, somebody may have done or said something.
And 9 times out of 10, I don't think she's ever going to do it. Ari Lennox, she has spoken on how certain things make her feel. But, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can put a link in the comments. But I've never really heard her, talk about this from not a victim perspective. The way our channels, the Exotical channels, we can just talk about things. Even if it's stuff the light-skinned girls go through that's kind of fucked up. We can just talk about it, And I don't really know what bothers her or what was said to her or, who's saying these things to her. But if I had to take a bet, it would be people that looked like her. It would be her family. Or just people, from a certain culture where it's them doing that. Not the people that a lot of people, and I don't know if anyone said this about Gina, the woman that played Gina, but these women are best friends. Oh, and this is like a side thing. Not only were they in Martin, the TV show, there's the show Everyone Hates Chris with Tisha Arnold. Again, one of my favorite shows. And Gina, the girl that plays Gina, I can't remember this girl's name, Tisha. She's a guest star in one of the episodes. But, the Martin show, Pam was a little bit more eccentric and Gina was more like the businesswoman. That was the basis of their characters. And in the other show, Tisha Arnold, she's a housewife. She doesn't work unless she wants to. She's a beautiful black woman. She has a husband. She has a family. She has a home. She's a high-class character, a high-caliber woman. And in the second show, the girl that plays Gina, Tisha, she is, I don't know. I'm going to show you guys some pictures so you can see for yourself. I don't want to sound mean, but she's more urban. She a little bit more ratchet, So they both played similar roles. It's not like Tisha Arnold is typecasted as this specific role. But for some reason, people always just felt the need to speak for her. So I found that so interesting. But I'm gonna go ahead and let it play.
To you, which allowed you to look at things a little differently and not receive them in the spirit that they were given. So there were several things.
Tichina called herself brown skinned and not dark skinned. And I am not one of those people who thinks that the brown skin tone category should be eliminated, because I know that was somewhat of a viral discussion on TikTok not too long ago. I definitely think it's useful to keep the brown skin category for many reasons that I may discuss in another video. But I do think that Tichina called herself brown skinned because she's uncomfortable with referring to herself as dark. So to me, that's the first indication that Tichina's self-esteem isn't very high as a dark-skinned woman. It does kind of come off like she doesn't want to be called dark-skinned, and it's giving internalized colorism. And then when...
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. Now, granted, I'm not a dark-skinned woman. I can't speak from the perspective of one. But it almost sounds like someone is so insecure that they have to project that insecurity onto other people. Like, and I've experienced this in different ways outside of skin tone, just in general. Like, just being a Black woman, people just assume, you know, we're all insecure about the same things. And to project your insecurity into a whole nother grown woman who literally just said how secure they are in their Blackness and that was not the case, that's just a whole nother story. But the part that makes it contradictory is if you understand that the term brown skin is used not always interchangeably, but there are some people, again, shout out to regular Black girl, who invented the term shade shifter, which is for women or whoever that your skin changes throughout the year. And there are some girls who go from being a more chocolatey brown skin to this deep ebony skin tone. And then and I don't know where I heard this. I think it was TikTok or something. I might do a video on this later. But people were saying, you know, you're a real light skin when you're light skin all year round. If you're basically brown skin in the summertime, then you're caramel. You can't claim being a light skin or whatever. Because, you know, like, yeah, someone said that to me, actually, I think. They were comparing me to Ice Spice. It was like, oh, like, you look exotic, like, you're light skin, but you're not like Ice Spice light skin, as if I asked. But yeah, so that there's a reason why these terms exist. And I feel like it's the same thing for dark-skinned women, because the more, you know, beautiful, chocolatey women that I know, they are dark-skinned all year round. But I also know some girls who aren't. I know some girls who have, like, especially, like red undertones where they're this caramel during, like, the spring and the winter. But then when summer hits, they're very deep. Like, their skin tone, they tan. Like, they look, you know, really, you know, dark. And it's gorgeous. So I don't really understand how someone can be insecure because they want to identify as a brown skin girl. And Tisha Arnold is not the darkest woman in the world. She's just not. I remember when they did that to Brandy. They was telling Brandy she hated herself. And I don't know, maybe Chrissy said something like that too. But they was telling Brandy she hates herself because she wanted Halle Bailey to play her in a movie. And I think I did a video on that. And their excuse for that was she's like 2 shades darker than Halle. You know? Because, you know, Brandy, she's not a Lupita, you know, she's not that deep, rich, ebony skin tone, you know? So, and a lot of people, when they think dark skin, I don't know why, they just assume one type of dark skin. There's so many different shades of brown skin, light skin, and dark skin. Like, there's a range. So for her to put herself in, you know, the brown skin category, maybe she just feels that she has a range of skin tones. And I've showed you guys some pictures of her throughout the years, and her skin shifts a lot. Sometimes it's a little bit more chocolate, sometimes it's a little bit more deep and more rich. But yeah, let's just say she's insecure. Also, you guys, I'm not going to be able to react to her entire video. I'm not going to lie, it was kind of insufferable. But I'll, like, basically speed it up a little bit. She goes on to talk about different Black women's dating preferences and, you know, swirlers and stuff like that. And honestly, for me, it wasn't really about that. When I'm talking about something, I don't like, you know, unless it's relevant, bringing up things that kind of don't matter. And I don't think who she dates has anything to do with her opinion being less valid, you know. And you know, I think she was one of the only people who was brave enough to even come out and speak about it and clarify. I know that if Martin would have spoke up on it, it would have been seen as he's just a colorist and he has a light-skinned wife, so we can't believe anything he says. But when Tisha Arnold speaks on it, for some reason, people just want to dismiss her completely. And I actually want to play a clip from another YouTuber who I was running to react to his video a little bit too, just like a couple clips. And he's reacting to Ari Lennox and what she actually said. So if you don't know, this whole fiasco started because Ari Lennox, she's a singer, and she came out and said she had an issue with, the show being colorist and that, Pam deserved better. And a lot of people, if you were around at the time that show was still airing on TV or when the show came out, you would know that Pam was like the hot one. Gina, she was like, she was the businesswoman. She was like not a housewife. I think they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But, she was the more I'm going to stay home and cook dinner versus Pam was, she was the it girl. She was the it girl of the show for a lot of people. And in Chrissy's video, she was basically saying that, black men should have made Pam the it girl and that they didn't do that. And I'm like, bro, she was acting. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of reminds me of like other TV shows where these actors will do these roles and you will think that person is that person in real life, or that person, would allow certain things in real life that they wouldn't. And I think that's where it becomes a little bit silly. But I'm going to go ahead and react to this video of Ari Lennox saying, why she felt how she felt. And then you will understand why Tisha Arnold had to come in and say, look, I understand colorism. I really do get that. But that's not what this was. And the funny part about this whole situation is that for the people that actually love the show, Martin, they know that Tisha Arnold's skin tone was never explicitly, downed on. Like, they never said anything about her skin or anything like that. And again, like I said earlier, I believe Gina was the girlfriend. So he may say, oh, you got a big head or this and that. But he wouldn't go in on her as much as he went on. Because Martin, he was a jokester. Everybody was making fun of everybody on that show. And, the only person he wouldn't easy on was his girlfriend, Gina. So, of course, she didn't get so many jokes as much as Pam got. And Pam was, if anything, Pam was, doing crazy stuff in terms of looks. And I also want to say that Exoticals are constantly gaslit, that when we do tell our reverse colorism stories, oh, well, how do you know it wasn't just this? How do you know they weren't being mean to you for just that? Well, why is it not, why can't we say the same thing, Because when it comes to Pam, they never said anything about her skin tone, yet some reason this is a colorism conversation. Does that not sound stupid to y'all? Like, they can just coin it whatever they want, But at the same time, when it comes to Exoticals, when we say, hey, I was treated this way because of this, and this, you'll say, well, it probably wasn't that. It's because you act white, or because your mom is white, so da-da-da-da, So I've definitely noticed that. It's definitely a double standard. But yeah, I'm going to react to this one last video, then I'm going to let you guys go. And I genuinely want to know what you think. Do you think that, black people or whoever are trying to rewrite history and act like the show wasn't problematic? Or do you feel like some things were just taken out of context and certain people choose to see what they want to see?
Too woke or something is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm honestly not, I'm problematic. I'm pretty problematic, low key. But my point is that there are some things where I draw the line and it just bothered me, or like, I don't know. It's like, Pam was so fucking beautiful and so fine. And I just feel like growing up as a chocolate girl, like, I don't even know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam because of the light that I feel like I was being fed. You know what I'm saying? I think that pissed me.
Every time I hear that line right there, I don't know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam. That threw me off because Pam was the sex symbol on the show as far as women. Every man outside of Martin wanted her, and even at the point of time, Martin wanted her too in his little dream, bro. Pam was the girl. Even when Martin played other fucking characters, they wanted Pam, not Gina. That blows me, bro. That throws me off, dog. How were you wasn't trying to find it if you didn't see it? Because it was right there, dead in your face. But some people in the comment section agree with Ari Lennox's sentiment and disagree with Tichina. Let's see. This person says, so it was meant to be fat phobic and anti-4C hair. That makes it better. OMG, we love that show. It was problematic like everything else. That's it. That's all. It's not problematic. I hate these terms, bruh. These terms grind my gears. problematic. Like, shut the fuck up. Now, Tichina, you know what I meant. The jokes were definitely stereotypical to what black people associate to non-ambiguous women. I've never heard BDB used towards Gina, and her hair was just as nappy as Pam. Let's not be dense. The fuck? Gina was his girlfriend. Yeah, he cracked on her, but Gina was his girlfriend. Every man know it's a line that you don't cross when it comes to your girlfriend. Yeah, you talk about a big head and stuff, but alright, let's keep it pushing. This person right here says, this sensitive generation can never survive in the 90s. They make everything a think piece. Martin is a staple, end of story. This person right here says, I never sense colorism from Martin cracking on Pam, because Pam used to be right along cracking on his ass too, and nothing colorism was ever said. Facts though, bruh. Gina got called high yellow, light bright, etc. Never heard a joke about Pam's complexion on the show, except when John with a Spoon called Pam and Gina chocolate and vanilla. Facts. I can't recall it. I can't recall it at all. This person says all the colorism jokes were mostly directed at Tisha for being light-skinned. I can't recall any negative comments made about Tichina for being dark. BDB, nappy head, run over shoes, stank breath, and dog face jokes certainly, but never dark-skinned jokes. And she dished it out just as well as she took it. I had the whole collection on DVD and have watched every episode countless times. I know every episode line for line, bloopers too. All right, now
never written from malice. It was written from who's got the best joke. They treated her horribly.
That's crazy.
Tichina did say some things about Tisha. Let's tap in real quick.
Like even with Tisha, what people don't realize that reverse colorism happens as well.
Oh yeah, dude.
And I remember Tisha, she would cry sometimes. It would be so bad because we had a live studio audience, and the girls. The black girls would come in and they were there for Martin, you know, and that was Martin, like this Def Comedy Jam and stuff. So it was that kind of crowd that would come to our shows, and they would laugh so hard, they would bang on the floor like you would hear. It was just crazy from the laughter of the audience. And every time, the whole first season, every time Tisha would walk out, all you hear was. They would not laugh at her jokes. Wow. They treated her horribly.
That's crazy.
And I was treated fine because, you know, you would think there would be me because I'm going back and forth with him. But no, they did not want Martin having a girlfriend. Wow. She just so happened to be light skinned.
Yeah.
You know, the way we used to crap on Tisha about being light skinned, oh my God. It was bad. So we have jokes, but my relationship with that show was never ever, those jokes were never written from malice. It was written from who's got the best joke.
Who's got the best shit, right?
All right, let's look at some of the reactions, dog. This person says, that's crazy that y'all think that light-skinned women can't get bullied. But the black community hate to acknowledge or talk about this. As a dark-skinned woman with a light-skinned mother, she's not lying. I've seen it both ways. I'm so happy she spoke on this. I'm seeing the comments, so I see people only believe colorism is one-sided. So many lighter-skinned women deal with this also. Most just don't speak about it because of the reaction they will get. Just look at the comments. Here's a woman that says she's seen how women treated her friend and is speaking on that experience. Yet y'all mad and trying to dismiss it because she's light-skinned. This person says it's not reverse colorism, it's just colorism. Light-skinned people get bullied all the time because of the shade of their skin, but somehow it's okay. It's only frowned upon when darker-skinned people get bullied, and I would never understand this. As a kid, I was teased and called names for having lighter skin, but if I had retaliated and said something about the darker skin of the person who was picking on me, I'd have been the only one considered wrong. The double standard is crazy. We are all black and we all deal with being discriminated against because of our skin color. The call coming from inside the house is the worst though. So we got to deal with it from white people, all white people who wish they were white, then deal with it from each other too. The phone. This person says that's not colorism, that's just bullying. Based on the actual definition, it's not colorism, but the only thing is they just haven't found a sexy ass term to describe what she described. But whatever it is, it's simply hating on someone or discriminating against somebody because of the color of their skin. But colorism also goes into the privilege or lack thereof that a person may have based on their skin color, the complexion. The lighter they may be, the more advantages they may have career-wise or relationship-wise or things of that sort. That doesn't always fair with everybody. Everybody got their own preferences, but y'all know how this world is. The world is racist. Anything closer to white is better for many people. All right, that's what they talking about when it comes to colorism. It happens in different cultures, not just black culture. It happens in Indian culture, Hispanic culture, Asian culture. People think white ice is colder. It happens, bro, but that does not mean that in certain segments or certain situations that light-skinned people don't get bullied just for being light-skinned. Once again, no sexy terms yet, man, but hey, though, just want to come back to this conversation for y'all, though. Is y'all...
So I really loved his reaction to what Ari Lennox and Tisha Arnold had to say. And I agree with what he said about there needs to be a sexy term for reverse colorism because it's a thing. And, you know, maybe calling it reverse colorism or something like reverse racism, that does sound a little bit redundant, but the experience is real. And there are many people who are dark-skinned women who have seen it happen or maybe been a part of it, been the type of person who will, you know, make fun of a light-skinned girl just because she's light-skinned. But I also wanted to say that at the end of the day, when it comes to people making fun of someone's skin color on the show Martin, only one person's skin tone got referenced. And that was Gina. So, yeah, maybe there were some jokes in there that are a little bit inappropriate, but just by the definition of colorism, there were no colorist jokes in the show at all. And unless, you know, maybe some reverse colorism jokes because, you know, Gina, she got called pale. She got called a lot of different things in reference to her skin tone that were not positive. So I did want to point that out. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys think. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.